a lot of pressure to try to get from zero to hero, science experiment to full prod
Right.
in like a condensed amount of time. And then
Yeah.
two, I think the other vector is kind of we're all using AI, right? LLMs, queries, code assistants, but not as much agentic.
Mhm.
And it looks like the agentic part of that equation is now coming. Operations and security might have a pretty good fight about who has it worse right now. But I think sometimes we forget about the operations folks. I mean, think about the things they rely on, right? Identity. I mean, identity is the basis of all visibility and control. Do they have identity for AI, for agentic AI, for MCP servers? Not even close. Two, the firewalls, like are kind of uh, I won't say silver bullet, right? But like our last resort type of get out of jail free card, the good old firewall. AI would melt those firewalls. That firewall sees a IP address and lets the traffic go right through without trying to decrypt it. In some cases, it can't even decrypt it if it's end to end, encrypted and it doesn't have the keys. So yeah, the firewalls, yeah, it's like one of two choices, right? Either you let it bypass the firewall, the AI, or you melt your firewalls. Those two things, and then I think the third thing that operations is always doing is a lot of network engineering, right? IP addresses, VLANs, DNS, private DNS, these type of things.
Mm.
That's always been really difficult,
Yeah.
even with mostly human workloads. Non-human workloads had already started to break this. Like
Mm.
it's really hard to try and do that with server-to-server type
Yeah.
workloads. That's why microsegmentation has been so difficult. Now imagine trying to do that for agentic. Like that's tough. That's the thing. It's interesting because I think the answer when you ask that to the security folks, the identity folks, the administrators, when you ask that question, they're like, it's already broken. Like I already can't keep up with non-human identities,
Right.
right? And I think it's, I don't know, 50 to 1, whatever the ratio is. Like as is, they don't have a good solution for non-human identity. Agree. And I would add, it's non-deterministic, unpredictable, by design. Like that's a
Yes.
feature, not a bug. You need the AIs to be non-deterministic
Mhm.
if they are going to fulfill their maximum potential. So, like by definition, you can no longer control the software.
Mhm.
By definition, you don't have an identity. To your point earlier on this older model of IP addresses and VLANs and DNS and segmentation, by definition, the old model doesn't fit the new needs at all. I think the fact that you really cannot build the profile of what's known good, what should it look like? Because most cybersecurity tools today, as you know, have a lot of great work that basically says, okay, let's build our understanding of how the environment looks right now. And if I see an exception to that, if I'm one standard deviation away in terms of this, or this, throw an alarm, alert the SOC. That doesn't exist in the agentic world. We don't know what that looks like. And the odds are, if we do know what it's going to look like, we think, okay, cool, this is a profile. It's probably going to be very different tomorrow and the next day. Again, by definition, right? Because we want these agents to be figuring out how to do all these cool
Yes.
things. We spent a lot of time over the last few years doing things like SASE and ZTNA for humans.
Mhm.
As you mentioned earlier,
Right.
with an explicit assumption that there's a human sitting there who can do certain things, like an MFA code or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. By the way, that wasn't easy. Like it took us years, and a lot of companies are still implementing their ZTNA and SASE for humans for workloads they control and understand in a relatively static, finite set of circumstances, right? Now, what we're saying is do that without the identities, without the understanding of what's going to happen on the network,
Right.
without the firewalls, as I mentioned, or at the very least without the firewalls doing inspection. So what we've seen is we've seen some enterprises say, okay, fine, like here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a gateway in front of all of our enterprise resources, and we're going to make all the agents go through that gateway in order to get to those resources. Because if I have thousands or tens of thousands of employees, if I let them all run their local AI agents, their local MCPs, and all their local agents and MCPs, they all query directly those APIs, those resources, those tools, my private LLM models. Can't do that. So
Because that exposes them all.
yeah,
Right.
chaos, right? I mean, how many connections are we talking about? How many employees multiplied by how many resources? So let's centralize it all through a gateway, an
Mhm.
LLM gateway, an MCP gateway, an orchestrator. These things have different names in different enterprises, but functionally, it's a gateway. Um, Makes some sense on that level. Now you have like control casts, but now you've created the world's most valuable attack surface. Like, is there anything more valuable than getting to that gateway that now has access to all those tools, resources, and data? Like, there will not be a more attractive thing to attack, which means no matter how secure you try to make that thing, as long as it's reachable, right, it's going to have a 0 day. It's going to have a misconfiguration.
Yes.
Some person or AI is going to find a clever way to bypass authentication on that thing. Or like, these things will happen.